Hi everybody and welcome to stampityourself.com. My name's Connie Ray and this is the project that we're going to be doing tonight or today, whichever it is time that you're logging in. This is a card. It's 11 by 4 1/4. It obviously stands up like that, and we've got the cute little teddy bear in there. We've got some embossing. We've got some gorgeous ribbon here. I don't know if you can see that up closely, but I'll go through the steps, and of course all the instructions will be on my blog. So basically we're going to do some embossing, we're going to do some die cutting, some stamping and some gluing, and we're going to be using these gorgeous colours. Unfortunately the camera doesn't pick up how pretty they are. They're just absolutely adorable in terms of colours. Let's see if I can get them up close for you. But we're using two different types of material, but you'll see the good photos on the blog anyway. So I'll show you how to put this together, and we'll go through the steps in terms of construction. Yeah, so we'll get started on it. So this is the card that we're making, and this is the little bears, and I've got to say it's a very cute little set. The set itself is in the Occasions catalogue, and I'll just point that out for you. Sorry, that was my phone that just went off. Okay, there we go. It's this set here. It's the bear set, and it's called Bear Hugs. It's so cute. And you get the die set with it in a bundle, and you save 15% when you purchase those two together. These are the type of items that you purchase because you just love them. There's nothing else to it. I just loved the bears when this catalogue, the Occasions catalogue, came out, and I just couldn't help getting them. The bears were my favourites, so I purchased the bears and the set. And you need the framelits because they're very tricky to cut out, and it's much easier if you have the framelits. And for those of you that don't know, this is the little bear framelit. I've already stamped my little bear, and he looks like this bear here. I've stamped him, and I've obviously stamped him, and I've put him through the die machine, and I've cut him out using my die machine. So for those of you who don't know what a die machine is, it's a Big Shot. So basically you do stamp, you get your little die framelit, you pop it around your stamp, you run it through the machine, and it cuts it out for you. There's no fussing, there's no tiddly bits that you've got to worry about, and that's the beauty of dies and die cutting. So for those of you who don't know, that's for you. And of course it's something that not everybody uses, but it's something that if you've got, you will use it, because that same machine, which is the Big Shot machine, you can put embossing folders through, and there's lots of things that you can do with your Big Shot, and it's certainly worth investing in one, but it's a personal decision. So do remember that if something comes with a die and a stamp and they go together, and you can get them together, grab it if you can. But if you're stretched for funds and you just want the stamp set, you can cut them out by hand. And I must admit, it's a lot quicker when you've got a die set. Depends how many you're making, let's put it that way. If you're doing one, that's nothing. If you're doing 101, that's something. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're doing your creativity and purchasing your items. Just keep your eyes open for those two things, because they do make life a lot easier if you've got the Big Shot and you've got an option to get a die with a stamp. They're just fantastic together. That being said, this is the Bear Hugs stamp set that we're using tonight. I'll put my little die out of the way, and of course we're using the Bear Hugs framelits dies, which we've already cut. I've already cut out to save time running it through the machine because I ramble too much. The colours that we're using tonight are Tip Top Taupe. We're using a piece of Blushing Bride. Whoops, collected the Big Shot then. Piece of Blushing Bride. Let me get that into focus. Sorry, piece of Blushing Bride, and I'm using that here to put my little teddy in. We're using Tip Top Taupe, and you're going to want your cardstock foil. Let me just zoom out a bit so I can. There you go. It's a bit better. Okay, all the stuff will be on the blog, so you'll be able to see it clearly on the blog. So you need your your cardstock, which is in landscape. It is 11 inches by, in portrait mode, 4 1/4, scored in the middle at 5 1/2, folded over and burnished on the edge to make sure it sits. You've got a matte card that goes on next in Tip Top Taupe, these colours are, and that is 5 1/4 in landscape, and a, yep, 5 1/4 5 1/4 in landscape, and 4 across in portrait, and that just goes nice and evenly on the top. And now the next piece that I've got is a little different, because what I wanted to do, as I've done with the card here, is that I've put 2 ribbons together, and I've made this one a little bit skinnier, so that when you pop it on you can actually see the ribbon, because the ribbon is actually beautiful, and when you see it on it you want to see more of it, you don't want to cover it up. So I've made the next mat a little bit thinner, and that mat is the size of, let me think, what size was it? It was, well, I should say is 5 in length, because you want the length to remain the same for the next mat. So that's 5, and it's actually 3 inches across in portrait. You want that size. Now the next thing that we've got also that we're going to be doing some stamping on and some embossing on is these vellum sheets. These vellum sheets came with the Botanical Gardens Designer Vellum Stack it is, and it was a freebie out of the Occasions catalogue and the Celebration items that you can get. You get this stack for free. If you choose this item, you can get it for free, or anything else you choose after you've spent $90 within the Celebrations catalogue. Within the Occasions catalogue, and you can choose items out of the Celebration. Did I say that makes sense? Anyway, I hope it made sense. Alright, so I obviously have got the stack of designer vellum, and I have used it on this card here, and I've embossed on top of it. I've stuck it down and I've punched a heart and I've popped my teddy in there. So what I might do now is I will go on and do my stamping. Like I said, I've already done my teddy, so he's covered. We've got the vellum that we want to, hang on, something was wrong with the camera there, I'm not quite sure, so I do hope, I'm not quite sure what happened, but anyway, we shall carry on regardless. Okay, we're going to be doing some embossing on the vellum, which is the hello, and that came in as a freebie also, and I've used this before on some of my items. I'm using the hello out of this, and I'm going to emboss that with white embossing powder on here, and I'm going to be using Versamark ink, which is this one. It's Versamark ink. It's clear, so when you put the embossing powder on it, you can see the embossing powder come up, and then you use a hot gun to actually set the embossing powder, and it becomes like a very raised edge, and it's very pretty once it's done. So I think we'll go ahead and do the stamping and get that out of the way. So I've got my little teddy. Now what I like to do with my teddies, and I often like to do this with a lot of my products, a lot of my stamped items, and that is I like to go around the edges and just blend in the colour that I have used as the ink, because what that does for me is that actually in my view, in my creative view, what that does for me is that it just blends the little bear in a bit, and it seems to blend more in, and it doesn't seem to be such an obstacle. It doesn't seem like it's just stuck on. It's actually blended in, and it seems to be smoother in the way that it actually looks when you put your card together. So I always love that, and I often do it. As you can see, by doing this just around the edges, you get that gorgeous sort of like edge on it that just makes him look like a worn old teddy bear rather than a stark, freshly cut teddy bear, if that makes sense. And I often do this on a lot of my items that I have to add in, because it does make him kind of stand out a bit more. And so when you're looking at he does pop. That makes him pop. That's a good way of putting him. These teddies are gorgeous. I love these teddies. They're so cute. Okay, so I've done that with my teddy. And the other thing that I did too is I took a marker and I marked a black marker, and I marked their eyes, his eyes, a little black one there, and it's a bit hard to see, little black one there, and I coloured in his nose here, so he's got a little nose, and a bit of his smile. Doesn't look too happy there, does he? make him smile a bit more, and his little mouth. So basically he looks like he's alive. Oh, his nose didn't come out too good, but that's okay. You know what I'm trying to do. Okay, so my little teddy is ready to go. The next one, I'll do the hardest one last. The next one that we're going to do is we're going to stamp the heart, and that is out of, I used the heart out of Blooming Love, and that is a polymer stamp set that's in the Occasions catalogue this season. And I have used this before in another product. Actually, the demonstration, the tutorial that I uploaded last time, I used this one. So I'm using my heart again because I like the pattern on the back. I like the pattern that it creates. Even though I'm not going to use the whole pattern, I like the pattern that it creates. And you won't see this heart at all. You'll just see the little the little patterns that it creates. Now on this, I used for my stamping ink, I used Pink Pirouette, and that is on the Blushing Bride cardstock. Now you can get the Love Blossoms cards pack in the Occasions catalogue, and it's called Love Blossoms card pack, and you get 24 sheets, and you get Blushing Bride, Crumb Cake, and Rose Red. I'm using taupe, Tip Top taupe, and the Crumb Cake is just a little bit lighter, but I've actually stamped my teddy with the ink, which is Crumb Cake. So that's entirely optional how which ones you use in terms of browns, because there is quite a few that you can use and they all probably look just as cute as each other. But on the Blushing Bride, I'm using Pink Pirouette because it's just a little tick lighter, so it's not heavy. As you probably can't see it there, but it just doesn't come up as heavy when you stamp it. Well, that didn't turn out too good, so what we might do is just flip that over, ink it up properly, see what happens when you rush. Ink it up really well, and we'll do it again. Oh, that didn't work either. Okay, well, we shall try that again. I must be just in a rush tonight. Some more Pink Pirouette. Let's try that again, shall we? Okay. Sometimes if you tap too hard, you will get air bubbles under. Am I bumping the camera? I am. I'm so sorry. If you tap too hard, you will get air bubbles. So you don't want to do that, but you do want to create a nice image. I'm going to do this about halfway down. There we go. As you can see, it just leaves a light mark. It doesn't leave a dark mark. Obviously on the camera it's a lot different than it is in real life, but it leaves a little bit of flowering behind. I'll just cut this piece off. So basically it's going to go underneath the bottom of this part here, and we're going to put the teddy basically like this so that he kind of pops out and you can see him, but behind him is a little bit of a native kind of bush area, which is kind of nice because it goes with the vellum quite nicely. Okay, so the next part that we're going to do is the embossing, and I'm going to have a piece of embossing. I'm going to have some paper underneath so that I can emboss without making too much of a mess. Now don't forget, you need your embossing buddy if you've got one. If you haven't got one, you probably would be wise to get one, but if you haven't, still give it a go. You'll learn the difference eventually. I'll just blow any dust off in case there is dust with my gun, just in case. Now you get your Versamark, and we're going to stamp the hello. I like to make it nice and juicy because we are going to emboss this, so we do want to make a really good imprint. And probably about halfway down, I would say. Push down. A fair bit of pressure, but not obviously too much where you're going to get a funny looking mark. Now obviously you can't see that mark because it's kind of invisible. But we will, through the magic of embossing, bring it to life. So I'm going to be using my white embossing powder. You can use any colour that you like. There's only a few colours. They used to have other colours with Stampin' Up, but there's only white, black, red. I'm not quite sure what other colours they've got. But I've got a pink and a green actually that they did have some time ago, but they don't carry it anymore. And the pink is really, really nice. It's like I think it's called Melon Mambo or something like that, and it's really gorgeous colour. But they don't carry it anymore. But that's okay. You can always get it on eBay or something like that if you keep an eye out for it and you really particularly want another colour embossing powder. It doesn't matter. Just because they don't carry it doesn't mean there isn't other colours available. There's actually some beautiful colours available now. Not so much with Stampin' Up. They've only got limited embossing powders. Obviously they're not in vogue as much as they were some time ago, but they certainly are good to have it in your skill base. Now I'm just going to make... Sometimes if you look closely, you can see where if you push down too hard, you'll get a little bit of a trim that you don't want. So that when you emboss it, it's going to come up, and you don't want that on your embossing. So I just go around the edge of that. The trick is probably not to press too hard. But just make sure that before you actually put your heat gun on, there's nothing on the vellum or your paper that you don't want showing up. You just want the hello to be nice and white and pop. So just double check it before you go to emboss it. Okay, you can see that hello before I even emboss it. And it looks pretty good, doesn't it? It looks like it's all covered. So let's emboss it. And you'll hear the gun. Well, the gun, they call them the gun, but it's actually the embossing, the heat tool. So I'm just going to put that on now. And you'll see it actually get darker as I emboss it. Shaking it around a bit, just to move it around. You can see it turning white now. And you'll see that it goes on. And it highlights it and it makes it look nice and gloriously white. And it stands out beautifully. There we go, all done. Now I'll just turn my piece over and just flatten it out, going over the other way. Scratch anything off there. Got to be careful with the embossing powder because it can actually, if you don't do it properly, if you have wet parts, if you have there we go. So you've got to be careful, make sure you haven't got all the flecks off and you've got a really clean surface before you put your embossing powder on, because it will speckle if you're not careful. But there's the hello. Doesn't it look good? And it's that lovely raised shine look. So it gives it a nice professional kind of finish, doesn't it? Okay, so we're going to, now that our stamping's done, so we've got our have we? Yes, we have. Have we? Yes, we have. I forgot which parts we're doing now. Okay, that's in the bin. All right, so we've got our little heart that's been done. And as I said, that's going to just go across like that. You won't even see this part underneath your card. We're going to trim it down so that it does actually fit in there. And okay, so we've got our heart. We've got our little teddy. We've got our special sheet of vellum and our tip-top taupe. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these two together. I put a piece of this double-sided sticky tape on the bottom, just up enough. You don't want to use too much of this because you will see it through if you use too much of it. But with the pattern, you probably won't see it. And you could also put a piece under hello there where it's going to go, and you probably won't see it under there either. But just to make sure it sticks down, you want to just be careful with the placement, because when you've got very clear vellum, you can actually see the tape through it, so you don't want that to come through. It doesn't look very nice. And again, when you're putting on your vellum, you just make sure that you marry it up with the size of the paper that you're, in this instance, we need to marry it up with the same size as the cardstock because it's going straight over. And kind of hold it down and let it smooth it onto yours. Oh, see, didn't even do that properly. Perfect example of what I was trying to avoid. So basically, I want to make sure, and I will just go down like that, so that it goes on flat and there's no bumps. It's a good example of what I was talking about. Lucky enough, you can actually move it around. It's not too bad. There we go. Give it a bit of muscle. It's not that hard. I've just made it look hard. That's all. Okay, so we've got that stuck down. Looks good, doesn't it? Okay, now we're going in with the heart punch, and it's called the Sweetheart Punch. We're going to take this and we're just going to go up as far as the punch will go. You'll hit the back of the punch, so you're going to go in about that far, in between where the hello is, so you can see how the hello is actually lined up. So we want to make sure it's kind of in alignment with the word hello, right at the bottom as far as the punch will go. And what we're going to do is punch the heart, just like that. Ta-da! So we've got the hole. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at popping our design of our little heart and our pink pirouette and our blushing bride paper with the gorgeous little blooming love heart underneath, and placement of our teddy. So the way that I placed him before was I sort of had an angle for him before I did anything and tried to position him the way that I wanted to see him. So I wanted the love heart to show, of course, but I wanted him to show as well. And I think I had a little bit more of an arm in there, a little bit more of a side. Yeah, that looks kind of good, doesn't it? So that it looks like he's just popping out of the window. So basically that's how I want him to be. Now there's two ways that you can do this. Probably the best way, you don't want to make him too big, is you can use your double-sided tape just to hold him into position. Make sure that you don't put it up that high where you, which I hope I haven't done, but yeah, don't put it up too high. And you don't want it to be too thick underneath either, because it is a card. So when you give it to somebody, you don't want it to be kind of really bulky and ugly. And I think I have kind of done that to a degree. Yes, I have, I think. So I might just take this piece off here, if I can. I'm making a lot of mistakes tonight, but that's good because you can see how I can work around, that you can work around them if you need to. And I'm not a big believer in re-recording everything, because I think, well, you know what, we're all human and we do the best that we can, and that's it. Okay, so now I think I've kind of got his arm just a little bit too far up. I think I might just try and pull him back a bit. Don't want to destroy the image in the process. And slowly peel him off. Lovely. Worked brilliantly. Okay, good. Alright. So I might just have to place him again, just to be sure, because if you're going to do something, you might as well do it properly. There we go. Yeah, I'd say about. I like to see a little bit more of the pink, I think. So it does look like he's literally popping out at you. Yep, that looks good. So let me try again. Second time lucky, as they say. Oh, and I forgot that I've got the tape underneath. That's all right. We're getting there. getting there. So I'll just run a piece across there, and just for good measure, I'll put a piece here, and that should be enough. Okay, that one. And you can use your double-sided tape for this too if you wanted to, but sorry, this is double-sided tape. You can use your tape runner, but I like a bit when I've got to construct something that I want to last, like this little insert. I prefer to use something that's really sturdy, which is your tear and tape. Tear and stick, I think they call it. I call it double-sided tape because that's what it's always been called. But Stampin' Up! Have got their version of it, and they call it, I think they call it tear and stick or something. Or it's basically double-sided tape, but it is still good to use in our own. Okay, so let's, before we put it down, make sure we've got him kind of in the position that we want him to be in. Maneuvering it around a bit. I would say probably about there. Looks good to me. There we go. And you have the teddy. He's so cute. So that's done. Now, when I constructed this, what did I do? I didn't use any dimensionals because I didn't want it to be really thick. The card itself is beautiful the way that it is. It opens up nicely. You can put your centimetre whatever inside, or you write whatever you want, but it's not really bulked up. I want it to be as flat as possible. And the other thing is I've got the ribbons here that I want everybody to be able to see because they are gorgeous ribbon. So on my blog, the dimensions, I think there was 16 centimetres you needed of this. And this one is the crumb cake stitched satin ribbon. And I also used, oh, I've left it up in the other room. I'm going to have to do a mad dash out to get it in a minute. So I used 16 centimetres. Basically what I did is I came in probably about a few centimetres off the edge of it, and basically have just put my double-sided tape down and stuck that around it, basically like that. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly pop out and get my other ribbon, which is my dotted lace ribbon, and I shall be back. So don't go anywhere. Okay, maybe that wasn't too bad. Now this is the Tip Top Taupe. Whoop, let me get into focus. I've knocked the camera. There we go. This is Tip Top Taupe, and it is the, what do they refer to it as? Oh, I can't speak French. Dotted lace trim. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm just having a drink of water there. And they go together beautifully, as you'll see on the picture. Now, what I want to do is, the first piece I think I will lay down from about here. This is my card. This is my first mat. So I'm going to go in a couple of centimetres, probably about there. And little sticky bits everywhere tonight. Okay. Chop. That looks like a good piece there. And the first one that I put on is the crumb cake. So what I do is, it's this simple. I wrap it around like that. Wrap it around like that. And then take it off. So you've got your double-sided tape on there. Careful not to put it down, which I'm surprised I haven't done yet. Give me 5 seconds. Okay, so basically, okay, I'll see if I can bring that over. What I'm doing here is laying my ribbon on top of the double-sided tape, just enough to colour it. And I've probably gone too long there, which is a waste of your material, but anyway, I've done that, so I'll trim that there because you don't want it to be too bulky. Says me with a pair of scissors that won't cut. Where are my good scissors? Okay, so that's doesn't make me happy, Jan. And then again on the bottom. Okay, so you've got your first layer of ribbon, which is the gorgeous crumb cake satin ribbon, and it really is pretty. Now with the lace, this just makes it look so beautiful. I'm bound to do another card with this, I can assure you, because I love this technique and I just loved the colours. They're just gorgeous. Now the tape is wide enough to have left just a fraction for you to line up your... Oh, I'm using too much and it's so precious, I don't want to waste it. There we go, I think that's about, and just enough to hold it down while you trim it if you like. Or actually, you know what I'll do? I'll put the double-sided tape on. Be consistent. Just bring the double-sided tape up as far as you can to the edge of your other ribbon. Snip it. Snip it. Oop, make sure you leave a little bit of edge on there. And again, just a construction stage, isn't it funny? Because you just think, oh my gosh, when you look at it, and then all of a sudden it all comes together and you go, oh wow, it worked. So I'll just sit that on top of there. Now I've got my Tip Top Taupe dotted lace. It's actually beautiful. These colours are just so, they just remind me of chocolate. I just want to eat them. So make sure you come over and you don't have any of the seams showing, but you have, well, you don't have any of the double-sided tape showing, let's put it that way, because I think on the initial one that I did there was a fraction of shininess sneaking through and I didn't really like it. But in saying that, you can only ever get it better when you try. There you go. So that's, isn't that gorgeous? I don't know if you can actually see it with my... no, you can't really see it. It actually looks grey in the picture, which is really sad because these colours, Tip Top Taupe, Crumb Cake, just love the combination. They are just elegant, really elegant and pretty. This lace is so pretty. I've got the other laces too in the other colours, but I've got to say, this Tip Top Taupe, I love it. It's such a gorgeous colour. And working with it, it just, I don't know, maybe it's because it looks like chocolate. Do you think? Okay, so again, if you haven't got it straight, it doesn't really matter because you can lift it. And with the lace, it's so strong that it doesn't even mind being repositioned, which is pretty good. Okay, there we go. Is that straight? It doesn't look straight. Hard to tell at this point from there. From where you're sitting, it's definitely hard. Okay, so basically now we're going to pop our card on top of that, leaving a little bit of space here, a little bit of space here, and a little bit of space here. You want it in proportion, but you also want to make sure that you can see. I probably came over a little too far here. You might want to just bring it over a bit so that you can see that gorgeous lace ribbon hanging off the edge. In the original, you'll see that that's occurred. So keep that in mind, that you don't want to come to, if I really wanted to, I'm sure that this would come off and I could do it all again, but I won't do that now. But yeah, in the original one, you can see how I've done the lace and the satin ribbon and the space there. And they've still got a little bit of space on this side. They're all evenly put together. But because I'm doing it on camera and Murphy's Law, because I'm still new to filming and get a bit nervy and things go wrong. But, you know, I'll get my confidence. And you know what? I probably wouldn't change much anyway. So, there we go. I think that's about right. As long as you can make sure that you get that gorgeous ribbon, because that's a part of your accent. That actually is what makes your card look really beautiful when it's finished, and when you give it to people they just think it's really cute. So you want to make sure that you're using all your accents that you're trying to put in, along with your sentiments and your pictures and stuff like that, so that they do enhance your card or your craft, whatever it is that you're using it for. This is such a cute card though, I've got to say. I was quite chuffed at it once I finished making it. I thought, oh, he's so cute. And these bears are just adorable. I'm just addicted to them. Alright, so bringing it over just enough to make sure that we've got everything showing the way that we want it. Again, just watch your placement. I know it's been a long tutorial, and I do apologise, but I certainly think he's worth it. Hasn't been that long, has it? Oh, 35 minutes. Oh well. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to just enforce what we've done and stick it down onto its main base now, and we've basically finished the card. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you've learnt something from it, and I hope that it gives you some ideas and some techniques that you can go off and practice. And of course, practice makes perfect, as they say. So we're always still learning. We're all still picking up bits and pieces as we go. But certainly, it's always good to know that you can learn something and you can walk away with something that you really like, I think. And this card really does look gorgeous in real life, and I hope that the recipient appreciates all of our hard work in getting it done for you. So there you go, there's the two cards. Aren't they cute? Hello. Definitely love it. And thanks for stopping by, and welcome to stampit.com, stampityourself.com if you're new. I do hope that, as I said, you've learnt something and you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I am sure that I will be back better, hopefully, with another project that you are going to enjoy and learn from. So thanks for stopping by. Let me get him into focus. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see if I can just close off with my little teddy bear. There he is. Hello and goodbye from us. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe and pop back soon to see another tutorial. Take care. Cheers.